I want to talk today about loneliness. I think anyone that has had depression or even anxiety may have experienced loneliness at some point. I want to state that being alone and loneliness are two very different things. Being alone can lead to loneliness, but loneliness can happen when you're in a room surrounded by millions of people. I know because I felt it. I know what it feels like to feel totally alone and still have loads of friends, loads of family, a boyfriend, everything that care about me, that are there for me, and yet I still feel completely alone. For me, anyway, I think loneliness often comes when my mood's really low. It comes when I'm trying to really fight a battle that I'm finding hard, and it's probably because of that. I am fighting an invisible battle, a battle that's going on inside my head that no one else can be part of, no one else can help, and no one else can really understand, and that can make you feel very lonely. The thought of people not really understanding is really difficult. Trying to explain what I'm going through, particularly it makes it harder when people are trying to be helpful. I know that completely, and they're trying to be caring, but often people will try and G you up and sort of like, oh, don't worry about it, oh, it doesn't matter, you're fine, you've got loads of friends, you don't need to feel like this. Just try and be a bit more positive, maybe look at this, maybe think about that. And all of those things are really helpful, really. They are the right ways of thinking. But unfortunately what happens is my dementor comes along and he starts saying, they don't really understand, they don't get it, they just want you to be better, they don't actually really care that you're sad. And that makes me feel like I'm going to go into my shell. And the more lonely I feel, it's often when I stop talking about how I'm feeling, because no one really gets it and no one really wants to know about it. That's the other thing. My dementor can convince you, well, you're only going to be more lonely if you tell everyone, because then they won't want to be friends with you. Then they won't want to be around you, they won't love you, whatever it is. So then you feel more and more and more alone. I am very lucky. I've got an amazing support network. I've got friends, family, boyfriend. And I know that they're there and I know that they care. But it doesn't stop me from feeling lonely. And it's a really difficult thing to explain to other people, because the first thing that people try and say to you when you say, oh, I feel really lonely, is that, but you're not alone. You've got loads of friends. This person loves you. This person loves you. You've got this family member, this. And legitimately, like, they're right. It's all there. Those people exist. They do care. And I know deep down that is true. But it's not about that. It's about not having anyone to help me fight my battle. It's about not feeling like anyone else understands or goes through what I'm going through. But it's more than that as well. For me, being lonely was definitely a sign that my mood is getting really low, which is usually a sign that I'm struggling to fight off the bad thoughts. I've talked about my dementor a couple of times, and I can't explain it any other way. Like a depression, anxiety, it is like something else inside me. It's like another monster. And when I am feeling low, that monster comes along and it will try and find all the ways it possibly can to make me feel like crap, to make me hate myself. And feeling lonely is a really good way of doing that. Trying to convince me that people don't care, that people don't understand, that they don't want to know about your problems. All of those things are really great ways of making me feel really crap about myself. It also likes to point out differences, and that can make you feel really alone. Everyone else is getting married, everyone else is having babies, everyone else's career is better, everyone else is getting paid more, they've gone on this many holidays, they've bought a new car. You can't do those things. You're not like them. You're not part of that group anymore. They won't want to hang around with you because you're not one of them. You have nothing in common with them anymore. And so it goes on. And if I'm having a good day, I can see those thoughts and think, this is crazy. This isn't true. If I'm having a bad day, then I can believe all of them. And that's really hard. And it's really hard having people around you and not in your own brain, not believing that they care. Loneliness is one of the hardest things to deal with in this crappy disease. Because it's consuming. And really, there is only one person that can help you, and it is yourself. And that makes it 10 times harder. And I know that when I tell people I feel lonely, often the response is to want to not make me feel like that, to ring me, to want to talk to me, to ask me how I'm okay, if I'm okay. And that is lovely and it's great. The really annoying thing about this stupid illness is that it's not always logical. It's one thing I try and reiterate quite a lot to the people around me when I'm trying to explain to them about how they can help me. It's so not logical. So sometimes having lots of people ring me can be too much. It can be overwhelming, especially when I'm trying to deal with all the thoughts in my head. Sometimes I'm exhausted from that fight that no one else can see. And so I don't necessarily always want to talk about how I'm feeling. I don't always want to go over it. Sometimes constant conversations can be really exhausting. At the moment, it's difficult because obviously a lot of those conversations are happening by video. They could be group video calls, and that can actually be quite overwhelming and tiring. And when I've got this other battle going on, trying to have a conversation, trying to communicate with lots of people, sometimes it's not helpful. And sometimes it is. That's the crazy thing. Sometimes I love having them and they do cheer up my mood. Sometimes I find them overwhelming, but I'm happy just to sit there and be quiet and let everyone else take over the conversation because I feel like there are people there, but I don't have to input. So I'd say if you're worried about someone, you don't have to necessarily go and bombard them and make them talk to you, as they really might not want that and it really might not actually be helpful. What might be more helpful is just letting them know that you're there and you're thinking about them. I have a very good friend and she knows what I go through, and she's always there if I want to talk to her, but she doesn't push me and she doesn't even always ask me how I am. But what she does do, especially when she knows that I'm not feeling okay, if I've said to her, I'm having a couple of crappy days or whatever, or I'm feeling a bit down, she will know what that really means. She will know that that's not just like, oh, I feel a bit crap today, that could mean something more. And sometimes what she'll do is send me a text with a GIF or a funny quote or a funny picture. At the moment, a lot about Tiger King. And that really cheers me up. It's a message I don't have to really respond to. But it's really nice having messages because it reminds me that people care. It gives me some evidence to fight that dementor. So when it's telling me that no one cares and that they've all got lives and they don't really want to deal with me, that when I get that message through, that really helps me go, well, actually, I've got some evidence. And being a scientist, I do love some evidence. I've got evidence, and that does help fight those thoughts. It does help me conjure my Patronus, shall we say, find a way to fight the dementor. It is hard. Some people might want to talk, so I'm not saying don't ask people if they want to talk. I think it is important to talk. But just knowing other people are there is important. And sometimes also knowing other people aren't having an amazing life and that maybe things are a bit tough, I think is also helpful. You don't have to go into everything, but even if you just say, oh, you know what, I'm actually really finding this lockdown thing really hard. So that might be enough for someone else to start talking. And also do obviously think about those people that live alone. I have lived alone for a long time. It doesn't usually bother me, but obviously this is a very different situation. Sometimes when I feel lonely, just having someone to sit with me and just be there with me is really helpful, and obviously I can't have that right now. So just, be aware that those people that are living on their own might be finding it tough, but also be aware that those people that are in houses full of loads of people trying to look after their families or their partners or just themselves might also feeling lonely, and maybe they do need someone just to sit with them, to put their arm around them and just be like, you know what, it's okay, and I'm here in whatever way you need, and I want to help tell your dementor to bugger off. Just remember, it is okay to just not be okay, and it's okay to open up and speak to other people.